Madam Speaker, the 2025 to 26 Northern Territory budget is a budget that restores confidence and rebuilds the Territory. Today's budget puts crime victims first, prioritises law and order, and begins the long task of repairing Labor's mess. The CLP was very clear with Territorians in the lead up to last year's election that in order for the Territory to rebuild its economy, reduce crime, and restore our beautiful lifestyle, we need a budget that is centred around reducing waste and prioritising spending on what matters most to Territorians. For 8 years, the Territory has suffered under the weight of record debt and economic and fiscal mismanagement. Territorians have suffered underfunded frontline services and infrastructure projects, project costs and timeframe blowouts, businesses closing their doors and people leaving the Territory. Over the last 8 years, the Territory has consistently ranked at or near the bottom in ComSec's quarterly State of the States reports. Despite this crisis and Labor's failure, now is not the time for austerity. Instead, we must grow our economy by outpacing the nation and playing to our strengths in mining, gas, agriculture, tourism and defence to benefit all Territorians. Today's budget deals with the situation the Territory is now in so we can reset and rebuild for tomorrow. About our fiscal outlook, we inherited deep deficits and mounting debt from Labor. The Territory's net debt position sits at $10.55 billion and is projected to rise to $13.97 billion by 2028 to 2029. The deficit in the non-financial public sector in 2025 to 2026 will be $1.31 billion, which is down from $1.65 billion under Labor in 2024 to 2025. As a result of our responsible budget measures and reprioritisation, the fiscal deficit is projected to reduce to $531 million in 2028 to 2029. The net operating balance for the general government sector is projected to be $235 million in deficit in 2028 to 2029, 2025 to 26, down from $707 million in 2024 to 25 under Labor, and is projected to finally be in surplus from 2027 to 28. Total revenue for the non-financial public sector is expected to increase to $10.04 billion in 2025 to 26 and rise to $10.55 billion by the end of the forward estimates. Commonwealth revenue is projected to be $7.14 billion in 2025 to 2026, and over 70% of the Territory's revenue comes from the Commonwealth. That is not by accident. It reflects the sheer scale of the historic backlog across infrastructure and services and across the board left to us by the Commonwealth since self-government. While this Commonwealth funding is vital, it is largely to maintain the status quo. What we need from the Commonwealth is nation-building projects, taxation reform, and changes to support migration. 8 years of underinvestment, trickery, and overpromising by Labor has left the Territory even more dependent on the Commonwealth to support us, just to get essential services and long overdue projects back on track. Certainty is the cornerstone of a strong economy, and with certainty comes confidence to invest, to raise a family, and to grow. Since August 2024, we have wasted no time in pulling the levers of government to restore confidence as part of our year of action, certainty, and security. Under Labor, the Territory endured average economic growth of just 1% over 8 years, less than half of the national average of around 2%, and recorded 4 separate years of economic decline. The Territory's economy was stuck in neutral. Our decisive action is already delivering results. Gross state product is forecast to surge by 7.8% in 2025 to 2026, followed by a further 5.9% in 2026 to 2027. Wage growth is steady and expected to average around 3.2% across the forward estimates. Employment is expected to grow by 0.8% in 2025 to 2026, with steady growth across the forward estimates rising to 1.6% in 2027 to 2028 and 2028 to 2029. Treasury estimates the unemployment rate to be 5% in 2025 to 2026 and steadily fall to 4.5% by the end of the forward estimates. Currently, inflation is the second lowest in the country and is expected to remain around 2.5% across the forward estimates. Recent data is promising. Residential building approvals are currently the second strongest in the nation and growing. Inflation-adjusted household spending in the territory rose by 1.6% in the March quarter 2025 and by 4.8% over the year, reaching $2.3 billion. That is the strongest result of any jurisdiction across both periods, according to independent economic forecasts. As at the March quarter 2025, there is up to $9.3 billion worth of projects under construction in the territory, with a further $680 million committed and a total project pipeline of $12.9 billion. Our population is now projected to grow, with 2,600 new Territorians joining us in 2025 to 2026, and further growth forecast in each year over the forward estimates. Private sector confidence is back, and industry is keen to get the territory moving across energy, mining, agriculture, and tourism. We are working side by side with businesses through our industry-focused agencies and the Territory Coordinator through tax relief, land release, and streamlined approvals. Yes, there are global risks. There are volatile energy markets, global inflation, supply chain pressures, and geopolitical uncertainty, but the territory's fundamentals are strong, and under this government we are going for growth. Madam Speaker, 2025 is our year of action, certainty, and security. In March, we launched our Rebuilding the Economy, Northern Territory Economic Strategy for 2025 to 2028. We want to outpace the nation and consistently grow the territory. A larger economy and population will increase scale, drive cost reductions, enhance services, and improve labour flexibility, while reducing reliance on the Commonwealth Government. We need to play to our strengths in order to rebuild the territory. This means prioritising sectors where the territory holds comparative advantage and has strong long-term growth prospects, such as energy, defence, agriculture, mining, and tourism. Economic growth will benefit all Territorians by driving job creation, improving affordability and access to goods and services, and increasing government capacity to fund public services. As part of our measures of success, our annual targets include that the Territory's economic growth exceeds national economic growth, population growth exceeds business as usual forecasts, and the Territory is recognised as the best place to invest. We promised we would respect Territory taxpayers by reprioritising what Labor left behind to focus and deliver on our three key commitments of reducing crime, rebuilding the economy, and restoring our lifestyle. When we came to government, we inherited a string of underfunded frontline services and programs, with funding of up to $350 million per year scheduled to cease across the budget and forward estimates. To fill that gap and stay under Labor's so-called debt ceiling, we would have had to deliver deep, damaging cuts worth around $1.4 billion over the period. We chose a better path, a path of responsibility. We have stabilised Labor's reckless budget without resorting to austerity and without putting the Territory economy at risk. We will not punish Territorians for Labor's failures. While we have removed Labor's arbitrary debt ceiling, the public sector will not have a licence to spend money. Agencies have been directed to find $20 million per year across government in operating savings, focused on reducing consultancies, travel, communications, marketing, and other discretionary spending. In lieu of Labor's debt ceiling, the CLP government has introduced a budget repair strategy to address the fiscal position and challenges we inherited. It comprises 5 key priorities. We will grow our own source revenue through economic development and population growth. We will contain employee cost growth by focusing resources to the front line. We will engage with the Commonwealth to unlock economic opportunities, ensuring sustainable debt management and supporting regional and remote Territorians. We will strengthen policies and processes across government to improve the effectiveness of government spending. We will develop a new, contemporary and simplified fiscal strategy focused on realistic and achievable debt management. This budget delivers targeted reform so we can deliver decisive action. As part of this budget, we have introduced legislative amendments to the Gaming Control Act 1993 establishing a 50% tax rate on profits, less GST from lottery ticket reselling, and matching activities under internet gaming agreements. This will standardise the taxation of internet gaming in the Territory and ensure a level playing field for online operators who offer ticket reselling or matched lottery products. We are also amending the Racing and Wagering Act 2024 to double the annual tax cap for bookmakers and betting exchanges from 1 million to 2 million revenue units, starting 1 July 2025. Taxation and royalty revenues are expected to increase by $142 million in 2025 to 2026, driven by improved royalties and reforms like the new gaming tax arrangements. That is more funding to invest in safer communities, better services, and real economic growth. When we came to government, we inherited an infrastructure program in complete disarray, riddled with stalled projects, unrealistic timelines, and ballooning costs. Labor had shamefully announced a record number of projects but did not provide enough cash allocations to deliver many of them. Despite record announcements, Labor budgeted to reduce capital works cash allocations, only providing time-limited funding, with a reduction of $250 million planned for 2025 to 2026 in Labor's final 2024 budget. Labor was so desperate to make headlines that it tricked Territorians into believing projects were coming, knowing full well it had no plan to pay for them. It is like heading to the checkout with a full trolley, knowing you only have cash for a basket and hoping no one notices as you quietly start putting items back on the shelf. The former Labor government was good at announcing big-ticket infrastructure, but it was terrible at managing costs or providing the cash to match their splash. Territorians were sold a dream and handed the invoice. Labor did not govern with a strategy, they governed by press release. Let's take the Darwin shiplift, which was announced in 2015 by the CLP. It was a nation-building project that should have anchored our defence, maritime and manufacturing industries in the top end, but Labor turned it into a fiscal disaster. What began as a government commitment of $100 million to crowd in private investment blew out to hundreds of millions of dollars under Labor's watch, yet it still did not fully fund it. They knew the true cost. They just refused to tell Territorians. This government supports the defence and maritime sectors, but we will not ignore cost escalations and blowouts like the former government. That is why we have referred the shiplift project to the Public Accounts Committee, so every dollar, decision and delay can be scrutinised and a credible path forward put in place. It is devastating to think how much Territorians have missed out on by allowing these project costs and delays to run unchecked. It is jobs lost, opportunities missed, and growth deferred, not to mention all the other services that could have been supported with that money. The legacy of Labor's mismanagement is visible in project after project, promises made without proper funding. Let me be clear about what Territorians are now paying for. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Gallery of Australia, originally costed at $50 million, blew out to over $300 million before being rescoped by the CLP government. The 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙀𝙑 Drive overpass jumped from $61.5 million to $160.9 million, a $99.4 million blowout. The so-called State Square Art Gallery, another legacy of Labor's priorities, has surged from $47 million to $143 million. That is an increase of $96 million, and that is a cost that all Territorians now have to bear. The cost of the new Darwin Youth Justice Centre has risen from $50 million to $135.2 million, an $85.2 million increase. The Royal Darwin Hospital third floor and mental health unit expansion, initially set at $38 million, has ballooned to $86.3 million, an extra $40.8 million. The Mandorah Marine Facilities project has grown from $50 million to $84.3 million, an increase of $34.3 million. The Maningrida Police Station has risen from $16 million to $37.4 million, an increase of $21.4 million. The John Stokes Square and Nightcliff Police Station project grew from $45 million to $63.3 million, an $18.3 million increase. We have uncovered the full scale of the mess, and we are now working to fix it. We have scaled back Labor's bloated, undeliverable infrastructure promises and replaced them with a realistic program, one that prioritises delivery on time, on budget, and with integrity. Because unlike Labor, we are not in the business of smoke and mirrors. We are here to get things done. We are delivering $608 million for police services, including continued support for the remote policing plan, police aircraft, CCTV monitoring, and school-based policing $16 million to upgrade critical infrastructure and technology at the 000 call centre, and a further $2 million allocated to boost emergency communications in Central Australia, $495 million for corrections, with $126 million in immediate funding and $176 million ongoing to deal with rising prisoner numbers. Since coming to government, we have added over 500 new corrections beds across the territory. If you commit a violent act in the territory, you will face consequences, because under this government, victims come first. This budget delivers the most significant and sustained investment in tackling domestic, family and sexual violence in the territory's history. $180 million over 5 years and $36 million a year, ongoing, to drive prevention and early intervention. We are funding specialist DFSV courts, starting in Alice Springs and expanding to more sites, so victims are not re-traumatised by the justice system, new culturally safe offender programs in prisons and communities to stop violence before it escalates again. Men's behaviour change programs in Darwin, Wadeye, Katherine and Alice Springs, because violence is a choice and it can be changed. Safe houses in remote communities where support is needed, most a specialist after-hours health response so survivors are not left alone when they desperately need that help the most. An expanded family safety framework for those at serious risk of harm or death. We are backing in frontline services with $26 million over 5 years in additional funding for the incredible organisations that work with survivors. We are building a permanent, integrated workforce support and training system, so this response is strong, skilled and sustainable. We are also expanding the circuit breaker program, offering wraparound support to at-risk young people and families to prevent domestic, family and sexual violence and youth crime before it happens. We are embedding a co-responder model in Darwin, Katherine, Tennant Creek and remote areas, so the response is early, focused and fast because safety is not negotiable, and no one, no woman, no child and no elder should be left unprotected from violence. For too long, victims and their families have waited years for justice in a system that prioritised offenders over their rights. This budget ensures our courts are properly resourced to operate efficiently and fairly, putting victims back at the centre of the justice system where they belong. We are investing $78 million in additional funding over the 4 years for the justice system, strengthening victim support, legal aid, community courts and prosecution services. We are fast-tracking the processing of remand cases to reduce backlogs and reduce harm. That is on top of what we have already delivered since coming to government. Since coming to government, we have wasted no time delivering significant legislative reform. We have introduced Australia's strongest bail laws, and we have passed mandatory minimum sentences for assaults on frontline workers. We have created new criminal offences targeting ram raids and post and boast offending. We have expanded police powers under Declan's law to crack down on bail and knife crime. We have introduced tougher public drinking offences to help restore order to our towns and streets. We have been clear from day one. We will deal with Labor's debt and rebuild the economy. We are delivering on our Rebuilding the Economy strategy, a plan that puts the territory on the path to long-term growth, job creation and private sector confidence. At its core, this strategy is about making the territory the best place in the nation to live, work, invest and grow a business. We are delivering $120 million for training and higher education, $2 million per year for workforce attraction, skilled migration and international education, $88.4 million for tourism promotion, including military heritage and interstate campaigns. $6.4 million for the Office of the Territory Coordinator to fast-track major projects. We are getting out of the way by streamlining approvals and reforming merits review to stop third-party interference in petroleum, planning and water development. As we rebuild the Territory's economy, we are doing so with a clear focus on fairness, growth and fiscal responsibility. That is why from 1st July we are delivering the highest payroll tax-free threshold in the country. Businesses with wage bills between $2.5 million and $7.5 million will benefit from real and actual relief, saving up to $68,750 per year. That is a significant incentive to invest in local jobs and expand Territory operations. We have also abolished payroll tax on wages paid to more than 3,700 apprentices and trainees because we want more businesses investing in Territory talent and backing in the next generation of workers and tradies. We are reducing red tape for charities and not-for-profits, making it easier to claim exemptions from payroll tax and stamp duty so those organisations can get on with their vital work in our communities. This budget rewards effort, supports business, and ensures the tax system works for all Territorians, not just a few. We are backing gas. Beetaloo is progressing to production. Empire Energy and Tamboran are currently progressing stimulation and flow testing for 3 wells that are expected to provide gas into the Territory market, possibly by the end of this year. We are stimulating the construction industry through supporting home ownership. Homegrown Territory grant, providing up to $50,000 for first home buyers. Fresh Start grant, providing $30,000 for anyone building or buying new. $49.6 million for enabling infrastructure in 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙀𝙑𝘼𝙉𝙍𝙍, creating Greater Darwin's next suburb. Since launching our nation-leading home ownership support, we have seen an incredible response that is not only helping Territorians into homes, but boosting our economy. More than 600 applications have been received across our First Homeowner, Grant and Fresh Start programs, injecting over $12.2 million into the Territory economy. That includes $7 million already paid, supporting first home buyers, whether building new or buying established, and driving construction and local jobs. Since the enhanced grants came into effect on the 1st of October, 2024 applications for new builds have surged, with $2.65 million in new build grants paid and more than $4.3 million in grants approved and pending. It is clear that Territorians are backing our plan, and our plan is backing them by helping more locals own a home, boosting confidence in the construction sector and keeping our economy growing. We are investing in roads and economic infrastructure, $4.34 billion in this year's Capital Works program, including $289 million for the Tanami Road, $223 million for Territory National Network highway upgrades, $205 million for Central Arnhem Road, $181 million for Territory gas roads, and $615 million for remote housing. That is a hefty commitment responsibly delivered with a focus on regional and remote areas. To the people of Alice Springs, we hear you. Unlike Labor, we are investing heavily in the heart of Central Australia. This budget delivers real funding, infrastructure and support to restore safety, services and confidence in the heart of Australia, Alice Springs. That is why this budget delivers $168.7 million to bring back liveability, pride and community safety, delivering projects that support children, strengthen communities and brings back the liveability this great town and what it is known for. This includes $123.5 million for the long-awaited Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Gallery, a national cultural landmark and local economic driver, $14.8 million to construct a new Alice Springs Town Library, expanding access to knowledge, community space and opportunity, $14.1 million for a multi-sports precinct in Gillen, giving local kids and families world-class facilities, $8.9 million for a new multicultural centre because community pride begins with representation, $5.7 million for the Newland Park Skate and Play Precinct, with $4 million contributed from the Commonwealth, $4.8 million for a new Tourism Central Australia headquarters and visitor information centre, strengthening the region's visitor economy. $450,000 for free pool access at the Alice Springs Aquatic Centre over summer weekends, backing lifestyle, not just infrastructure. We saved Anzac Oval, restoring a local icon and recreational space for all. We are also progressing. $11 million for subdivision works to release residential land at Kilgariff. $9.4 million for flood mitigation works. $1.2 million to remediate Shell Depot site. New upgrades at the Alice Springs Correctional Centre and Youth Justice facilities. The Territory lifestyle is not a luxury. It is a reason to stay. It is why people choose the Territory and why so many choose to build their lives here. From the rolling thunderstorms that blow in only to turn into monsoons we all cheer for, until a week later when our couches are mouldy and we are cursing the humidity, and from being completely humbugged by hundreds of flies in Central Australia to then taking a drive out to the McDonnell Ranges and being floored by their ancient, breathtaking beauty. That is what this budget offers, protecting what makes the Territory special. We are backing the lifestyle that brings people here and keeps them here. This budget delivers meaningful cost of living relief for households, seniors, families, and businesses. Across Australia, families are doing it tough, and Territorians are no exception. We will not punish Territorians or public servants for Labor's fiscal recklessness and economic mismanagement. We are delivering real targeted relief to help Territorians deal with cost of living pressures. Whether you are raising school-age kids, planning your first home, or enjoying retirement, we want to make sure you feel supported not just in the good times, but especially when it gets hard. This government stands with Territorians, and this budget proves it. We have delivered over $290 million in concessions and subsidies, including $206 million in utility concessions and subsidies, capping power price rises at 3% for most customers, free driver's licenses for 12 months, no increase to car registration, 200 back-to-school vouchers, $100 sport vouchers, twice a year, $100 learn-to-swim vouchers, free swimming lessons for all primary students across the Territory, free meningococcal B vaccinations, early childhood education subsidies of up to $1,560 per child. Seniors can receive over $5,000 a year in combined concessions, and families up to $4,000, businesses up to $107,750 in support. We are backing major events and Territory pride in a big way, with $36.5 million invested in the iconic events that make this place come alive. We know Territorians do not just love their lifestyle, they live it. Whether it is the thunder of supercars in Darwin, the electric glow of 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙀𝙑 in Alice Springs, the roar of red centre gnats, or the spark of Territory Day fireworks, these events bring Territorians together, celebrate our identity, and showcase the very best of the Territory to the rest of the nation. It is the CLP that will protect fireworks on Territory Day at Mindil Beach. It was the CLP that delivered the supercars, launched 𝙍𝙀𝙇𝙀𝙑, and built events that instill pride and boost our economy. Under this budget, Territorians can be confident that we are backing these iconic events to be bigger, better, and brighter than ever. These are not just events. They restore our lifestyle, inject energy into our towns, fill our hotels, support our local businesses, and give Territorians something to look forward to. Because the Territory is not just a place to live, it is a place to love. We are also delivering $2 million for Aboriginal sport development, up to $75,000 grants for recreational fishing infrastructure, and $5.5 million for new walking trails in Watarka National Park. Good health is the foundation of a strong, resilient Territory, and this budget backs it with a record $2.5 billion investment in health services across the Territory. We are putting patients first by delivering $1.5 billion for hospital services, $313 million for primary health care, $135 million for mental health, and $60.3 million for alcohol and other drug services. These are not just numbers. They are about Territorians getting the care they need, when and where they need it. We are also delivering $100 million in additional annual funding for the Department of Health to support safer, higher quality services right across the Territory. We are taking action on mental health, funding the new inpatient ward at Royal Darwin Hospital with an additional $16 million ongoing for operations and $500,000 for equipment ahead of its opening in early 2026. No matter where you live, from Newlanby to the Daly or Tennant Creek to the Tiwi, you deserve access to modern, responsive healthcare. If we want a stronger Territory tomorrow, we must invest in our children and young people today. That is why this budget delivers $1.6 billion for education and training, because every child in every corner of the Northern Territory deserves a quality education. We are backing learning at every stage, including $120 million for vocational training and higher education to make sure young Territorians are equipped for the jobs of the future. We are also making it easier for Territorians to gain a trade or qualification. This budget continues. Free TAFE and vocational training for eligible Territorians, up to 1,000 workwear and gear bonuses for first-year apprentices and trainees. These are not just investments in education, they are investments in opportunity, growth and long-term social and economic success, whether it is in a preschool in Palmerston, a high school in Katherine, or a trade course in Tennant Creek. This government believes in the potential of every student, worker and classroom. Through the Remote Aboriginal Investment Partnership with the Commonwealth, we are also delivering $842 million in community services and closing the gap outcomes. Just 262 days ago, that is 9 months and 11 days, Territorians entrusted the CLP to reduce crime, rebuild the economy, and restore our unique lifestyle. This budget begins the long and necessary task of repairing the mess left behind by Labor. The CLP has a proud legacy of building the Territory. Today we lay the foundations to rebuild it once again. The Whenua CLP government has the passion, discipline and determination to do the hard work, to fix Labor's failures, restore confidence and deliver the Territory's future. I proudly commend the bills to the House.